Okay. Can you hear me okay? Little mic check, guys. Let's see. We got 5 in the house so far. All good. All right. Let's get somebody to comment real quick and just see if the mic is working good. All right. Let's see. I'm going to nobody telling me in the chat yet. Come on, guys. Had a good there we go, loud and clear. Thank you, sir. Dana, hey buddy, how you doing? Dave, had a great week this week, guys. I want to mention first off, I know there's not a lot of basketball fans here, but or maybe there is, but today this week Portland Trailblazers re-signed Damian Lillard. It's just kind of a thing for me, and I love it. He's the greatest Blazer of all time, and got a lot of love in my heart for him. Anyway, Rochelle and I went to Portland yesterday, and went record hunting and had some brews and some coffee, and I got some good records. I'm just going to show a few that I have here today before I bring on the guest. Some 74s that I found kind of funny. Look at this Virgil Fox. I can't tell you how many The Entertainer. I probably have 7 or 8 albums with The Entertainer on it from 74. It's kind of weird. I was excited to get this one. I love Jerry Reed, Tupelo, Mississippi Flash. And I was at Music Millennium in the gospel section and found this one, The Mighty Clouds of Joy from 74. I haven't listened to it yet, but pretty excited about that. All I hear is 1974. You're damn right, Norman. Here's one that's not 74 that I found this week that I really liked. I got this for $1, but it's just a crispy copy of Gilberto and Wonderly on Verve, and it's really good. I liked it a lot. I showed on Rachel's stream this morning this album. This is a staple from the early Christian rock days. Larry Norman. His life ended here, close to where I live here. This was I collect, because I'm a trucker, I collect trucking records, so I got this rolling on. It's pretty cool. And one that I was kind of didn't know anything about, but I found this Whitesnake. It's a UK press, and it was way more bluesy than I thought Whitesnake would be, but this is pretty cool. Anyway, so I want to bring on my guest today. Got a really cool special guest today. You guys all know who he is, and I think he's got nigh on about 300 videos on his channel. He makes a lot of the really fun, top 10 albums sold on eBay, and I love the list videos, where you count down and stuff like that. It's really fun. But he also hosts a couple of live streams and stuff like that, and I'm chuffed to get him up on board today. I have Dan, buddy, how you doing, man?
What's up, Marty? How are you, sir? Thanks for the invite.
You bet. I'm real excited to have you here.
I am.
It's cool. So you're in St. Louis, is that right?
That's right. The Show Me State, the gateway to the West, and all that stuff.
Right on. Okay, let's see here. I got to make an adjustment here. So when did now you've had your channel for about 3 years?
Sounds right. Yeah, sounds right.
What was the impetus for? Were you in the VC or collecting vinyl before that, or what got you going?
Yeah. I've been collecting, I would say, seriously since about 2010. Like I'd pick up some odds and ends here. I think it started when I finally got like a turntable to actually listen.
What was the motivator? Did you have friends, or just like the medium, or what really got you?
No, I don't have any friends. I should just start off with that. The ConcertBuddie thing is an illusion. No. Vinyl was always kind of like a sentimental drawback because my mom listened to records. Some of my early memories are my mom like just putting on and terribly mishandling. Sorry, Mom, but terribly mishandling stacks of records. Yeah, Queen, News of the World. I mean, she even had 45s of like New Kids on the Block, kind of cheese stuff, but like just all kinds of things. And so going into adulthood, I've collected different things over the years, and I had like a CD collection, like 300 pieces. when Napster was around, like I had a full hard drive of
Oh,
MP3s.
really?
But
Okay.
I don't tell anybody. So I've always been like a collector of music. But then I think the barrier to entry was just vinyl, finding it at the thrift or yard sales
Yeah.
or all the places in between. Barrier to entry was so low, so cheap that I think I had a couple records just because I liked them, just because of the callback. Got the turntable, and then I think my first big buy was like at a Goodwill. I bought like 20 plus records for 10
Mm,
bucks and
okay.
good stuff. You know, it was like Michael Jackson, Thriller, Whitney Houston stuff that all
Yeah.
resonated for like my musical journey.
Mhm.
And I was hooked. I was like, man, I can like literally instant collection for 10 bucks. That's the price of a
Yeah.
CD. It's actually cheaper than a CD, you know?
Right. Right.
So I was off to the races at that point.
Back when you could actually find good stuff at Goodwill. I mean, I find stuff occasionally, but and they want I went into a Goodwill this week and they had individually priced records at like I mean, hammered records for like 8 and $9.
I know.
And I was like, "What in the world are where have we gone?" And the standard album is $4. Then I went to a place in Portland yesterday and there was like 3,000 albums outside on the sidewalk, a buck a piece, and I found just a whole ton of
Right.
really good stuff. Yeah, Goodwill's got something coming.
Yeah, I think when they figured out, it's like anything else. When they figured out they could make more money, again,
Yeah.
remember they're getting these items for free, and then
Right.
they're making money. And
It's all
the
profit.
nature of Goodwill or thrifts or Savers or Value Village is to help the local community and to employ people down on their luck and help rehabilitate them.
Yeah.
Somewhere along the lines, the Goodwills and those people figured out we can make more money on this. And it
Yeah.
started, I think it's like the Hoffman forums. It's one of the X areas for me is
Oh, yeah.
shopgoodwill.com. That's what started this because
That's exactly right.
yeah,
Yes,
because
shopgoodwill.com.
once they figured they could do their own eBay style auction platform and maximize return
Yeah,
on this, it started with like video games, any kind of high value item, video games. Then it became records, then it became equipment, etc. And yeah, it was off at the races. Now,
watches is a big one on goodwill.com too. I
sure,
bought some
sure,
there. It's just
yeah. So
silly.
once that happened, then I kind of dried up that area, and then like you said, now it's Savers is $5 for a Herb Alpert record or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, it's crazy. So let's go back a little bit to now you're from St. Louis, right?
Yep, yep.
Did you grow up there? Have you been there your whole life?
Yeah, I've moved a couple different times for college, but all generally in Missouri. I went to
Okay.
Springfield, Missouri for about a year and a half, my freshman year of college. So that was like my first time getting out of the incubator of St. Louis. Like I grew up in the country. Like when I say St. Louis, like I'm not like skipping and jumping rope under the Gateway Arch or anything. Like
Okay.
it's just kind of like it's within an hour of downtown. So I grew up
Okay.
in the country, very rural.
Oh,
Great way
really?
to grow up.
For sure. That likewise for me here in Oregon. When I was doing long haul trucking, I've been through St. Louis a few times.
Nice.
Uh, it's quite the drive from Kansas City to St. Louis. It's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um, so you mentioned your mom had like Queen records and stuff like that. So she was into rock and roll when you were growing up.
Yeah, she was into like this music, right? Like, and
Okay.
that's why I kind of tongue in cheek said the New Kids on the Block thing. But like, she was, I wouldn't say very progressive, but she was just like whatever sounded good. And she'd be like dancing in the living room or while she's cooking or whatever,
Cool.
cleaning, that sort of thing. And the big hook, and I brought up Queen on purpose because that's iconic artwork. When you open that gatefold and it's the robot and he's got blood on his fingers,
Mm,
and so as a kid, like mutilation, violence, all that stuff. You see that
yeah.
and you're like, what is this? This is incredible. And so, and then you hear the music, and the music is not what you would expect, saying all this doom and gloom, but yeah, it was kind of hooked from there. And then obviously the allure of actually having something tactile and something you can actually touch and see the artwork. And CDs obviously have the same kind of facet, but just in a smaller scale. But yeah, I was kind of hooked at that point. And plus, again, generally my mom listened to decent music that I liked.
Hmm.
Sometimes, like I remember there would be like cassettes, right? And she would buy a new cassette and just wear it out. Like Melissa Etheridge's debut.
Oh
I think it
my.
was like whole summer. That was the only cassette in the
Yeah.
car. Like we go camping or anywhere we go, got to listen to Melissa Etheridge, to the point where I really wanted to jump out the car. But that's how
Yeah.
like she just really latched onto what she liked, and then it was on to the next.
So was there ever in your house, was there ever music that your mom didn't approve of? Like growing up, there were certain things that were verboten. I mean,
Yeah.
my folks were pretty easygoing, but I was a church kid and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I was out of the house that I started doing that. But did you get into stuff that she didn't approve of at all?
it's funny you said that. I prepared. I brought something. I
Sweet.
don't have the original. So the music journey, maybe we'll go back where I like started. But yes, to that question specific, when I got my first two CDs, Best Buy, South County, my own money, 1993, Nirvana in Utero, and Snoop
Mm.
Dogg Doggy Style, which I actually I think I have.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so to that point, I would play them in my room, and my mother, not a big fan. She, for different reasons. For different reasons. So I got like the in utero, right? So I brought the goods, so the record collectors
Right
could
on.
see. I'm not playing
Very
games.
cool.
We got the
Yeah.
OG and OG, but then it was CDs, and Nirvana has that song "Rape Me," so my mom wasn't a big fan of "Rape
Mhm.
Me." And then Snoop, everything was bitches and hoes and tricks and all
Yeah.
this, and so I'm trying to like find myself. I'm in like middle school. I'm like, yeah, I'm really hard. You know what I mean? I'm like country boy and rural St. Louis. And meanwhile, mom's not
Yeah.
really enjoying that. She's not. She wants to promote me having my own individual music tastes, but
Mhm.
misogyny and that sort of thing wasn't exactly. So
Yeah, I think
there are a couple
there's a
times.
bunch of moms out there felt the same way, I'm sure, with those
Oh, of
albums. Very
course. Yeah, yeah,
positive,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So rite of passage.
So you were in the area, went to high school. What was your when you got out of high school, did you leave to go to college, or what happened there?
Yeah, so freshman year, I went it's like southeast or southwest Missouri. So think about like when you're coming up from Kansas City, it was in Springfield, Missouri. So I did my freshman year there, and
Okay.
again, this first time like out on my own, freshman 15, crazy stories, grades suffered, lots of basketball, all
Mhm.
kind, the poo poo platter. So I was there
Yeah.
for a little over a year, and then I decided to come back and go to school a little bit closer to home. Still, I lived on campus, so I wasn't like home and grades magically rebounded, and then I kind of started doing the resume builder stuff. But yeah, metropolitan St. Louis for the most part, and I like to travel. Like I love going to Chicago, and there's places I love to
Mhm.
visit, but I have never found. Even when I spent a lot of time in Portland when I worked at Nike. A lot
Oh,
of great
sweet.
places to visit, but nothing that was really like I need to live here, that kind of thing.
Mm. Do you feel connected to St. Louis, like, for long term, or you wanna get out and
Yeah,
go
I,
other
I,
places?
I think, and this is going to sound morbid, but as my folks kind of move on their celestial journey, once I don't have
Mhm.
those kind of attachments to the area, my wife and I have like a retirement plan, let's call it,
Okay.
that we're probably going to do like, and we're stealing this idea from a good friend of mine that we're probably going to downsize to a condo here and then a condo where we want to ultimately spend a lot of our
Oh,
time on
cool.
the beach and stuff. So that way we can do like the winter birds kind of thing. But for right now, with all these records, I can't be moving.
Yeah, tell me about it, man. I've accumulated so much. I think about having to take him somewhere, and it's a real job. When you say condo on the beach, are you East Coast or West Coast preferable?
So we really enjoy spending our time in the Hilton Head area of South Carolina,
Okay.
and it's getting a little bit more pricier as I guess other people are poking down shop. I think COVID really changed a lot of those kind of beach towns in terms
Yeah.
of the real estate really getting like insane. But we went there for our honeymoon, just really enjoyed it, and we try to get back at least once a year if we can.
Okay.
I do love going to the West Coast. I actually am coming up at it's really optimal time we're filming this. I'm going to go to LA this upcoming weekend. It's the first time I've been back since probably before COVID. We used to have some friends that lived in Santa Monica, so it
Okay.
would give us a reason to like purposely make our travel that way. But once they moved east, then it was a little bit more estranged from the left coast. But looking forward to it.
Right on. Are you gonna dig it all while you're out
Oh,
on
of
in Los Angeles? Yeah, of
course,
course.
I mean, name of the game. Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
no, no wife, all life, right? So
Yeah.
she's going to hold
Okay.
down the fort, and I'm going to meet up with some VC luminaries and
Okay.
have a good time. I haven't been to Amoeba since they moved from the old location on Sunset or whatever. So I'm
Okay.
looking forward to the new Amoeba. And there's some things, obviously, being in the VC, I've learned some of the better shops. Like when I'd go out there, Amoeba, Record Parlor, the things I could find on the internet. But now that I've heard about Atomic and some of these other places, I'm excited to kind of dip my toes in that bathwater.
Yeah. So when were you in, what years were you in the Portland, Beaverton area?
Let's see, that would have been 2021 to 2023. I worked there for a
Okay.
couple
Oh,
years.
so right during the pandemic, kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh no, I take that back. 19 to 21, and I say that
Okay.
because I joined Nike, and my first year was like a lot. It was like drinking out of the fire hose, learning
Mhm.
I'd worked for a sporting goods company before that for a long time, but Nike is like a corporation, is like a whole nother level. And the first year I was drinking from the fire hose, and business was great. I worked on like the top account, all that kind of stuff, and then COVID, and it completely
Mm.
changed. I just felt like I was getting my footing and felt like I was
Oh,
really ready to
sure.
make my move, and then COVID, and it changed our whole business model. And
Mm.
yep, there for another. We made it through the COVID, like once the doors
Yeah.
started opening back up, but then our business had changed to the point where I felt it was better to go to another company.
Okay. What did you think of Portland?
Right, I like visiting.
Yeah.
The challenge with Nike though is I was just on the road so much. That's one of the reasons
Oh,
I
okay.
left. I
Alright.
was in Portland probably I would say every 6 weeks
Okay.
because
Yeah.
our office was based in St. Louis. We had a sales office in St. Louis, and
Alright.
so I worked on Famous Footwear. I don't know if they have. I'm
Oh,
assuming they
sure.
have them out there.
Yep.
So
Yep.
in the sales channel I worked in, that was our number one account. So I worked on that account, and they
Oh,
are based in
interesting.
St. Louis. They literally were a 5 minute walk from our office.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I'd be up in Portland. We'd be seeing the new products. We'd be having sales meetings. We'd be have selling meetings, all that kind of stuff. And Beaverton, obviously, you get down airport,
Mhm.
downtown Portland. Then Beaverton's like what 30 minutes
Yeah.
from there. And
Can you
Nike,
give
it was great, first class. They would transport us everywhere, and so we would stay in downtown Portland. And what was great is once we get done with all the work stuff, back to the hotel, I could put my stuff down and I could walk around downtown and go to like I think it's Everyday Music was a one
Everyday
hour
music is right there. Yeah,
yeah, and
across
they would
from
be
the
open to like
Crystal
10, which
Ballroom.
was great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd go there. I'd go to the Powell Books. I'd go
Mhm.
to anywhere I could go within walking distance was great. There, yep, there you go. See,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So there'd be a lot of adventure where I think a lot of my cohorts were barring it up, drinking it up, having a great
Mhm.
time, and I would indulge in that when I could. But I also like to like work's work, and then I need a little bit of decompress time. So I would
Yeah.
just go on these walks and have a good time.
Right on. So what were when you first started getting vinyl, was it just, anything that you enjoyed, or was there anything that you, any like, I collect albums from '74, obviously, it's my birth year, everybody knows that. Are you currently now, or did you then like, go for a certain record label, or was there anything specific that you wanted to collect? Was it just
I think in the beginning it's just like what you have a personal, for lack of a better word, emotional connection to things that
Mhm,
you really enjoy, right? Like so I like one of the first albums I bought was Metallica Justice for All. Love Metallica, right?
mhm,
It's the one I got. It's not their best sounding, and again, it's through education. I learned all these things, but it was mainly I grew up 80s and 90s was where I kind of cut my teeth on my musical tastes. And then you find out that, oh, wait, they really stopped making good vinyl in the 90s. And so then that made it more scarce, and so I wasn't readily seeing that. I'd see reissues,
mhm.
but yeah, first thing is collect what you collect, what you enjoy and what you know, and then it's kind of like this is a great thing about the hobby. One of the great things is that you like one thing, you find out a little something about it you didn't know. It gives you on a deep dive. Then you learn something else, and you learn about a label or a backup singer or whatever, and then you're exposed and learn about a whole different subgenre that you didn't even know about. And I'm the type that when I really find something that really stimulates me and really like intrigues me, I go all in.
All in.
So
Yeah, so
yeah,
do I.
so then that becomes, I wouldn't say obsessed, but that becomes like my hyper focus of what I'm bringing into the collection. So early on, it was just amassing what I could on the cheap and stuff that I liked, and
Yeah.
from there, then it was like, oh wait, Quincy Jones produced Thriller, produced this, that,
Mm.
or the other, produced that Sinatra album, all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, let me get that Sinatra album. Sinatra, begets this, begets that.
I love that it's just a never ending, rabbit hole thing that you could so many that you can go down,
Absolutely.
because so many people work on different, albums and produced and, mastered and yeah, it's fascinating. Um, I I think I saw a couple months ago, I saw a video you were guesting on with a guy who was it Top 5 Records? Did you do your top 5 records
Yes,
with a guy?
yes, I did. Yeah, he reached out to me. Oh gosh, I don't want to give his name, but yeah,
Yeah,
he reached out to me and through Instagram, kind of like
yeah,
we were doing.
yeah.
And yeah, I was like, cool. I'd seen it before, and so he's like, hey, can we line up a time? Cool, cool. And yeah, we just
Was,
talked.
was this on it?
There's a high probability, Marty, that was on it. There's also a high probability I probably have 20 copies of
No
this
kidding.
album. I have one below, I have one behind me, I have one here, I have multiples. I could probably fill a whole Calyx cube full of that album,
It
but
is it's I mean, it's definitely in my top 20, it's likely in my top 10,
yeah,
and like you, there's this emotional attachment. I mean, other than the fact that it's just really great music. I mean, it gets a lot of flack, obviously, as Huey
Eh,
does sometimes, but his I mean, I just when you first you watch, Back to the Future, and then when I learned that he's the guy when they're auditioning in the gym that stands up with the megaphone and says,
Bullhorn, yeah, yeah,
"I'm afraid you're just too darn loud," or whatever,
yeah. It's a nice touch.
and, yeah, I this album is just, yeah, it's fantastic.
That was one my mom had, and I wore it out.
Yeah,
Wore it out, especially Harder Rock and Roll. I just thought it was so cool that they had the simulated heartbeat,
yeah,
bump, bump,
yeah,
bump, 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 and this just as the lead in. And so literally, I would just grab the needle, not gracefully as a child, and put it back
yeah,
over and over and over to the point where I kind of considered that my record. Like when she gave me her records years later,
uh-huh,
that one was just beat to hell, so it didn't really make sense. But from a sentimental attachment, I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
that was basically, I wouldn't say it was my first record, but it kind of was my first record.
I remember learning, memorizing all the cities as he goes through them and singing along, through that. I think my favorite song on the album is "Bad Is Bad." Something
It's a good
about
one.
that song, it's just, really gets me going. I'll play that stream that in the truck quite a bit. That's
Yeah,
cool.
it was great that I'd always wanted to see him, and we had like some close encounters. Like he played the Washington Missouri State Fair a couple of years ago, and I just didn't hear about it till after the fact. So I want to say maybe was it post COVID? We used to have this festival in St. Louis called Lou Fest, and they always would try. The promoters would always try to book a 80s legacy act, like we've had Billy Idol and that sort of thing. So they
Mhm.
booked Huey Lewis and the News. Stoked. Like Run the Jewels was there. Like there was a lot of good other bands, but I was
Mhm.
all about Huey. And I'm so glad I caught him because then it wasn't too long after that he had to shut it all
His
down because he's
hearing
got like
problem.
tinnitus or
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah. So
yeah.
real bummer. But man, I was like just
So
marking
good.
out. I was having a great time.
So 4 Chords and Several Years Ago, right? That, his
Yeah,
album I think you have that, don't
I
you? Yeah.
did. Yeah, I used to keep it on my desk. I think I flashed it one time when you were on the show.
Yeah.
And,
I,
now I
I
now I've got it on my CD rack. Unfortunately, I'm amassing CDs again, which is another whole story. But
that's not I don't think that's I it's not on Spotify, and I can't find it around. I don't know that they did a vinyl of that one.
so I
Or
think
did
they
they?
did.
Did they?
It's only a European release, and it only
Ah,
pops up from time to time. I just got a copy. I probably should have brought it up here. Of Hard to Play is another one that was a European only. That
okay.
was 1990, I think. I did that one, and that one pops up even rarer. So I found a copy. I'm reluctant to buy things online overseas just because not because they don't know how to pack it or they don't know what we're talking
Yeah.
about, but there's so much margin of error from the
Drift
transport.
and yeah,
So I
yeah,
did buy it. It was like $17, hard to play, I should say.
okay.
And even though they acknowledged there was a mark on it, but it plays through and just to have it. Because I
Yeah,
remember buying that tape from Kmart back in 1990. Again, I would always do these things where I'd buy two first. I'd buy a rock record and I'd buy a rap record. So that one was Hard at Play, Huey Lewis, and then I bought Mama Said Knock You Out by LL Cool J. Like I would
okay.
have like
That's
that
awesome.
little balance.
Yeah. Um, I've a lot of times I'm looking for the albums excuse me, of cassettes that I had.
Sure,
So, like, from the '80s, I'll have a cassette, and now I'll come across, one of the albums and get those, but vinyl, OG vinyl from the '90s can be really spendy, I'm finding. Like, I wanna get, Extreme's Three Sides to Every Story from '92. It's one of my favorite albums,
okay,
and, you can get a repress. Another one is, Paul McCartney's Off the Ground, and I think that's like $150 to $200 for
sure.
that OG. So, those are kinda it's because I guess they just didn't make a whole lot of them, and
Right.
you gotta wait for the repress to come along. Yeah, but
Yeah,
there's yeah.
that's kind of been kind of talking about where I got started. I thought I was gonna come into the hobby, or not gonna say come into the hobby, but just as I was growing in my collection, yeah, I'm gonna get all. I thought I was like Pokemon collector. I'm gonna get all these '90s things, and then I found out they were either not pressed at all, pressed only in Europe, or they just didn't come up. I didn't see them at my local shows. And then to your
Mm,
point, you go online and it's monopoly money for some of these things. So I always knew, depending on how serious I wanted to get with it, eventually I'd have to pay the piper and I'd have to be very strategic on what I really wanted to pay up for. And it's the burden and the curse, right?
yeah, what has been worth paying up for you for a record?
Oh, okay. Let me think. So, and this isn't a humble brag. This is just since you asked the question. The most I've ever paid for a record, $625,
Okay.
and that was a very good deal on Tool's Enema record from friend of the show, Jim, Radio Wasteland. He
Okay.
cut me a really good deal. That's one that never comes up. It goes for north of 1,000 easy.
What
Uh,
year was that? Did that come out? You remember? Was it early
98?
90s?
Yeah, I want to say
98.
98 off
Okay.
the top of my
Yeah.
head.
Okay.
I know that, and it's a solid condition record. But the one that's probably central to your question is a couple years ago, I bought a first pressing of Nirvana's Nevermind,
Okay.
and that was based on talking about VC knowledge. Ingroove Mike had done a shootout talking about like what he felt was the best sounding copy, and I had a couple copies. I think I had the 2013 Burning Grunman Palace, which sounded solid, but I was this is kind of the slippery slope. Is you always wonder, is there one that sounds even better? And especially as you get earlier in the production runs, generally speaking, I say generally air quotes, generally it feels like OGs just sound better.
Yeah.
And so I always had thought, I saw one in Santa Monica at, oh goodness, it's not the Record Parlor, Record Surplus, years ago for $200. It was a club pressing. And at the time, this is like 2015, I'm like, I'll never pay $200 for a record. No way.
Mhm.
I think my cutoff was like $50 at the time.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you know, ever since then, I'm like, I should have paid $200
Yeah,
for
right.
that record, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward to Mike does that video, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to get hypersensitive or hyper focused on trying to get one at a reasonable price. So I found one on Discogs within the year, and it was everything you would look for. It was a single owner. Guy was the original owner, still in. I think it's still in shrink. If I'm not mistaken, I'd have to go pull it. But the chain of ownership was very tight. I had to coach him through. He didn't sell records too often, so I did want to coach him up on how to make sure to ship something this valuable correctly. And it was worth every penny because it sounds chef's kiss. It's the best sounding copy I have. I don't have the MoFi. It's the only one I don't have.
Okay.
But of everything I have so far, like it's just in your. It's what you want that record to be. It's in your face. The drums, the vocal,
Yeah.
everything. It was mastered well. I think Bernie mastered that one. Butch Vig produced it. I mean, it was done at Sound City Studios and everything. Talk about a subpath. When I saw that Sound City Studios documentary, I became hyper focused on getting all those recordings I could,
Mm.
from Rumors, Fleetwood Mac, the original, to Tom Petty, to anybody that I saw in that documentary. I really wanted to see. I wanted to taste it. I wanted to see,
Yeah.
is this the best sounding? And just from that board, that historic board that they recorded all these things from, and I have yet to find one that underperforms, to be honest.
I'm just now dipping my toes in the different pressings.
Sure.
Like I actually I just picked up another turntable this week
Nice.
to so I can. I mean, I'm just learning the difference. How much difference a cartridge makes.
Sure.
And how different they sound when I played the one compared to the other my project and stuff. But the different pressings, there really is such a huge difference across the board. Do you A/B records? Put one on, listen to a song, put the other pressing on, listen to a song, and so you can
So,
quantify the difference?
short answer is yes. I don't do it as well as, like, say, Jason Rojas. I think Jason does it really, and I've seen him do it. He has a two turntable deck, and he kind of plays a little bit here from 1A and a little bit here from 1B, so you can kind of hear them in like
Mhm.
sound step. For me, I do it a lot more what I'll call generically, and I will play side A of whatever record, and then I'll
Yeah,
play the other side A
that's how I've done it, yeah.
within the same listening session, only so it's fresh in my mind. I can maybe recall once in a while. I make a couple little notes on my phone while I'm listening of things
Mhm.
to call to kind of see if the other has that. But I've only done that on a couple records because the last thing, I'm not an audio. I would never be a self-professed audiophile. I like what I have. I like my setup. I think you can always improve. It's like you said, the
Mhm.
more you learn, the more eager. It just depends on. Like, I've always considered it's important to me to amass the record collection, and then I figured at some point I'd go back and just double down on gear, which is still kind of my move.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say like the Chris Isaac record they reissued a couple years ago. I was very hyper focused on. Had an original I got for like $5, and then it was like $100 record, and
Yeah.
then they reissued it finally, and so I was very eager to uh, sample that one. And it's one of those rare reissues that I was like, wow, it's a couple little differences here and there depending on taste, but really, again, you got to pick a winner. Sometimes there's not a winner. Sometimes it's just like, I like this because of that, and I like that
Mhm.
because of this. And I think that's why it's, again, everything's subjective. Everybody's listening is different. Everybody's genetic makeup in between
Yes.
ears is
So
different.
do you when let's say you have, 3 copies of a certain album that you like, will you then liquidate 2 copies you don't listen to as much, or do you like to hold on to multiple copies of the same album?
It really depends, Marty. I would say if it's something I'm very passionate about, like a good
Like
one.
like sports?
Well, so yeah, it's funny you say that. So I have so many originals of this. I've got the Mobile Fidelity. I've got the anniversary edition that came out a year or two ago on pool table green.
Oh,
Spoiler
cool.
alert, doesn't sound that good, but
No?
again, a friend sent me a Japanese pressing. So yeah, something like that. I would have multiples. Megadeth, Rust in Peace is another one, 1990 or 91. I've got the original. I've got the club pressing. I've got the 2008 Capitol repress. They just repressed a couple years ago. Something like that. It just really depends. It's got to be something I like. It's got to be something I'm like personally invested in, not financially, but just more of like an album I really find important or valuable.
Mhm.
Um, I did kind of go down the well for a while of trying to be a completist on everything, and that's just foolish because I don't
Yeah.
need all of the Pointer Sister records.
Right?
sorry, sorry, Pointer Sisters, no offense. But things like that, like I mean, there's only so much space, there's only so much time in a day to listen to some of this stuff, and if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, which sure some of my enemies would love, what are they going to do with like all these Pointer Sister records? Nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Do you I've asked this question before other people, I have, I don't know, a couple thousand between 2 and 3,000 records, and, a ton of them are 74s that I'll never listen to again. I listen to everything once,
Sure.
um, but I don't I'm, not like Mazzy where he listens to 5 to 7 hours a day. I come home, I'll spin a couple records every night, but I just have the more records I get, the thinner or the slimmer the chances that I'll listen to all of them. Do you struggle at all with because I love just the collecting side of it, which is
Mhm.
really fun,
Yeah.
as well as appreciating the music. Do you ever, is there a struggle in your mind at all between how much is too much, too many records, or do you feel a sense of like an obligation to thin out the herd every now and then? How does
Yeah,
that?
no, I think what I'll call trimming the bonsai tree is important
Yeah.
because you're what you're interested in at the time, or more focused or passionate about at the time. It changes. It's like evolving, right?
Hmm.
At the beginning, I was all about just amassing, and then at a point, because it was cheaper and it was like, oh
Hmm.
man, 25 cents for a Barbara Streisand record, why not?
Yeah.
Yikes, you know what I mean? Like, but collecting, I'm sure you can attest, evolves, and you just kind of change your not only your taste of what you're going after, what you're really interested in, but also like there's only so much space, there's only so much time,
Yeah.
and I really found that out when I moved a couple years ago, homes, and I had to pack all these records. Then I was trying to be ambitious and clean everything before I wanted to process it before, because
Mhm.
because I'd been amassing so much. Now it's like I have so much. Now I'm playing catch up of cleaning it, cataloging it, organizing it, etc. And it became such a task. It took a lot of joy out of the hobby, which stinks because this should
Yeah.
be fun, right? First and foremost. And so when it became to feel like a job, it was like, man. So to your point, do I have some, I would say regrets, but it is, do I dread not being able to listen to things? The YouTube thing is kind of interesting in that part of the conversation because I've kind of scaled back making weekly videos because I want to listen
Mhm.
to more of my records.
Mm.
And quite frankly, like that's why I've kind of moved toward the live streams, and I'll do the eBay stuff because I think that's fun. But the show and tells, that's why we do them on the live streams now,
Yeah.
because like I like showing, and I like because that's the stuff I would watch before
Mhm.
I went on the other side of the cameras. I like watching pickups because when I'm at the record shows, to me, visual cues are a lot easier when you're playing a numbers game than I can always like, oh, that's a record I remember seeing somewhere, pull it, then I can look it up.
Mm.
Because you only have finite time, and there's people on your shoulders, and there's the body odor people, and then there's the cranky
Yeah.
people and whatever. So it's a numbers game, and so flip like this show and tell does have value, but I just wasn't. I'm still not really like that. Doesn't excite me about dedicating time to making a video, showing my latest pickups, talking about them briefly, and then moving on my day. I'd rather just show them in a live stream and
Mhm.
then listen to them later. You know what I mean? I'd rather use that time I had been earmarking early in my YouTube stuff to actually listen to the records.
Yeah. Do you ever, ask yourself, "What am I doing on YouTube?" or "I'm just tired of it?"
Every day, every day.
Yeah, yeah,
No, yeah. I mean, the thing I tell anybody is when it stops being fun, I kind of start checking out.
yeah.
And there have been times and there have been situations where I'm like, I kind of question it, only because as I'm sure you're finding out, you got to feed the algorithm because
Yeah.
getting awareness is paramount. And this is already such a niche kind of
Mhm.
thing that I don't have illusions of grandeur of being Anthony Fantano or Vinyl Eyes or any of these people with the astronomical sub counts and whatever. I just started doing this because I saw other people doing it. I enjoyed what they did. I thought I had something to offer the community in terms of knowledge, experience. Like back when I worked for Nike, I was traveling all the time. I was going to record stores everywhere I went. I didn't document it because I wasn't a YouTuber.
Mhm.
I was just a record collector, and that's one of the like little regrets I have is I wish I would have documented all that because I don't get out as much as I did back then. And like Music Millennium, I would go to Music Millennium every time I was in town. I'd take an Uber, I'd go across the bridge and whatever. And there's some other. I mean, last time I was in Portland was last year, and like Music History, PDX,
Mhm.
great shop. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So
yeah.
I do kind of miss going
There's
out.
a ton of shops in
Yeah,
Portland.
yeah, Little Axe. I mean, there's
Yeah,
this
Little X,
Mississippi
yeah,
Records. There's some good stuff, but
yeah.
yeah, do I? There are times I'm kind of like, and that's why I've kind of scaled back how much content I'm putting out. Like the Mazzies and those folks that are just like content machines, more power to them.
Yeah,
One, I don't have that bandwidth, and two, I got to be motivated. Like I think the audience knows if you're just going through the motions.
yeah,
And I've talked
yeah, they
about this with
sense
other
it.
people. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
If you're just making a video just to check a box to feed the algorithm,
yeah,
I don't know. That's why I've kind of changed my strategy, and I do the eBay thing. I do it once a month. If I get moved to do another video, I'll do it. But I really like the live streams because I think it's interactive with people in the gallery. I really like the group of guys that we have. Um,
How does your wife feel about your VC presence?
she's been supportive of it for the
Yeah,
most part. Her concern only becomes when people make it personal because there are people
yeah.
shocking that don't like me, and that's fine. Um,
Everybody has that, yeah.
yeah, I
If
mean it's just
you're on
life.
it long enough, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and it's just like I didn't really experience that a lot in my personal life because I wouldn't associate people don't like me.
Right.
On YouTube, they don't give you a manual saying you're going to have people who don't like you for the simple fact they don't like you, or
Yeah,
you said something wrong, or they think you don't know what you're talking about, or fill in the blank because you
yeah.
have goofy teeth. I think one of my detractors, he didn't like my teeth.
Wow.
Yeah. So point being, she's not a fan of that because
Yeah.
she knows how the competitive part of my spirit
Mhm.
wants to respond to that, and sometimes I chip off and I shouldn't. But then she doesn't want to see people, like shitting on me just to shit on me. So there
Yeah.
is her line though is very clear. Is like if any of these knuckleheads show up on our property, like ConcertBuddie is over. So
Yeah.
not trying to encourage people to do that because you'll be dealt with, but
Yeah. No, I
that's
understand.
where it is for her. Is like if it crosses because there's been a couple people who've made some threats and there's a couple people who've talked tough, and
Wow.
that's the stuff that upsets her is that
Sure.
she doesn't want that coming in the room.
Rightly so. Yeah. Is she a music lover as well?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of the
Yeah.
things that we
Drew
kind
you
of
together?
vibe about. Yep, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
Fleetwood Mac's her jam.
oh, really cool.
Stevie's her muse. She
Okay.
was really excited about this potential Buckingham. Like I was at a concert Thursday, and she was texting me Stevie and Lindsay are Instagramming each other. Look at this, Buckingham Nicks could be,
Interesting.
So
Okay.
yeah, yeah, she really loves that stuff.
That'd be cool. Do you, when your concert buddy, so how many concerts do you try to go to concerts quite often? I mean, I don't, I'm an hour south of Portland, so I'm not, it's not opportune for me to go up to concerts very often.
Sure.
But how often do you try to make it to live music?
As much as I can.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like in college, I lived at the venues. I loved going to loved live music,
Mhm.
loved live music, discovering new music. The local St. Louis music scene, especially in the late '90s, early 2000s, was pretty fertile. There were a couple bands that got signed to national deals with Island and a couple other labels. Had some songs on national radio, in movies, etc. So that was like my high school, college years, and so that was a lot of fun. And so continued that, try to see as much as I can. Obviously, getting older, more responsibilities, less time, etc. The ConcertBuddie name, just full transparency, was actually a similar but different ideas. I had this idea for a social network of people because for me, if I want to go to a show, I'm not the type that won't. I'm not afraid to go by myself. I know it
Mhm.
sounds pathetic, but
Right. No.
if you can't find somebody to go with you, like that shouldn't stop you from
Yeah.
plugging into live music. And so, ConcertBuddie originally years ago, like over a decade ago, was going to be a social network where you could just like a bulletin board. Hey, there's I'm making it up. Leonard Skinner's in town. None of my
Mhm.
friends like him. Anybody want to meet up? Because then you
Oh,
can
that's a good idea.
vibe
Yeah.
with your tribe, right?
Yeah.
And so I locked in the name, and so I'd always been sitting on it. But then I think a little bit after that, we had this idea. I was talking to a friend about standing it up as a opportunity, business opportunity. And then there was that Craigslist killer thing where the guy on Craigslist was meeting up with young ladies and murdering them. And so then I was like, you know
Uh,
what? Probably not a good idea from a liability perspective to put two strangers together and then something bad could happen.
Interesting.
Yeah. So then
Yeah.
so I've had the name and the website held for years. And so when it came time to find a YouTube name, I'm like, I'll just go with this. I love going to concerts. Honestly, the real concert buddy is Vance in Chicago. Is that Pearl? The guy goes with or without anybody. He's out cracking the pavement. He's the true concert buddy. I always say that because he
Okay.
goes to a shit ton of shows, and I envy that because I wish I could have that type of
Yeah.
availability.
What are a couple, live shows that, whether it's 10, 15, 20 years ago or just recently that that, like, just blew you away, that you didn't have any, like, your expectations weren't anywhere close to what you experienced?
Sure. Yeah. So when I would travel more, I'd go to. I went to Bonnaroo,
Mm,
2011. 2011, I went to. I wanted. That was going to be festival year, so I went to Bonnaroo because it was also the anniversary of some of these bigger festivals. So it was the 20th anniversary of Lollapalooza in Chicago. I went to that one. 10th anniversary of Bonnaroo, I think it was. And so kind of all the kind of key notes we're kind of hitting here is so I'm at Bonnaroo and they had we had already kind of made my friend, we went down and we'd already kind of mapped out the big stuff we wanted to see. So we had some downtime and they had like an emerging artist stage like area. It wasn't even a stage, it was like a tent. And so my friend went to use the restroom. So I'm just standing there and all of a sudden I hear this roar, guitar roar that really just stopped me in my tracks. I'm like, whoa, what was that? And so I kind of stumble over to this thing. I might have had a couple drinks, and I stumble over to
mhm.
this thing, and it's Gary Clark Jr. is when he was breaking out,
Oh, wow.
and I'd never heard of him. He's an Austin guitar guy who's just starting in his career. Blew me away. I was like, it was like when the universe had put me in the right place at the right
Yeah.
time, and literally, like I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it because hearing this guy literally at the beginning of his rise, such talent, like blew, so my friend
Yeah.
finds me, and I'm like, I think my life might have been changed. Like, what is this? And then it was such a small thing that we were able to afterwards, meet him, take a picture, talk to him, that kind of stuff. So that was real cool. But
That's neat.
um, Bonnaroo was fun. Like I got to
Where is
Amos.
Bonnaroo?
It's in Tennessee. It's just
Tennessee.
outside of Nashville. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Alright.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun too because a lot of the artists that aren't the main, like Lil Wayne was one of the headliners. He performed at like 2 a.m. because you're out in like a field, like in
Right.
this farm on the farm, and so like we're like watching music all through the night. It's unbelievable. But a lot of the artists who weren't I think Arcade Fire, Black Keys, or some of the headliners that year. Amos Lee was just walking around. He had two different sets during the weekend, and I saw him and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" You could just go up and talk to these people.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I always admired
That's
his
cool.
music, and so that was a lot of fun. So in terms of that, Bonnaroo was a lot of fun. I would say
Do you
I
like
saw
festivals? Do you camp or you,
no, but so
no?
Bonnaroo is a camp centric festival, but my friend that I went with is not into the germs. Let's say he didn't really want to like shower with other people, even though you're wearing like bathing suits and stuff.
Yeah.
So we got a really gritty hotel that was down the street, and the door didn't even close, and there was only one bed, so I slept on the ground. I'm like, like it's all good,
Yeah.
which makes the story better, I think, overall. But
Sure.
yeah,
Absolutely.
the camp. Like that night we saw Lil Wayne. Like we couldn't find our car because we parked in the middle of a field and there's no lights. And I had a rental because I'd just been in a car accident, so I had a rental. So
Okay.
literally, it's pitch black. You're in a field in remote Tennessee trying to find a Toyota, whatever it was, Yaris or something.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
but no, in terms of like music that's really stopped me, that was one. Gary Clark. I got to see Foo Fighters. I've seen Foo Fighters a whole bunch, and we saw them. What was that? Hangout Festival down in Gulf Shores. And the one thing I do like about festivals is that if you're willing to do gaps, what I mean by that is you'll see a band, and then the next band playing, like you don't really care about missing other music, and
Mhm.
you wait for a full set. You can get on the rail a lot of times.
Oh, okay.
The big So we were on the rail, saw Foo Fighters. Dave came down, was playing a guitar like right in my face. Like I'm like,
Wow.
what is happening right now? Like this is
Sweating on
amazing.
you.
So
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. One time, people are going to laugh. Mumford and Sons did an in store at one of my local
Yeah.
record stores, so I was able to see them as they were kind of going on the way up. So those are
Yeah.
the kind of things that really kind of have. There's been times I've seen concerts like Ray LaMontagne's one I really like.
Oh,
That
that would be great. I'd love to see him.
I saw him at Bonnaroo, and then I've seen him a couple times touring. But his voice is something that really like touches a nerve, not in a
Mm.
terrible way, but just in a like connective, emotive way that you just really feel like this voice is from another planet. Because like who can emote through their voice like this? There's not many people, in my opinion. Like Ray is
Yeah.
like amazing.
It is unique that way for sure. How about a venue, like a concert hall or a theater or whatever that whether it had just incredible acoustics or just the design, does anything stand out for you? Like you'd love to go see another concert at this place?
So I'd love to go back to Red Rocks. I've only been to one
Oh,
concert there. We saw Tom Petty and Joe Walsh opened up for him. This is
oh,
2000.
that'd be so cool.
It was, man. We had like we thought it was going to be the tell all be all. This is 2016. He died shortly after. It was the 40th
Yeah,
anniversary of the Heartbreakers. Obviously, didn't know that was going to happen at the time.
yeah.
And yeah, so we went. I may or may not have been under the influence of certain things, and then it rained a little bit. So I don't know because I think the wet might have messed with some of the acoustics,
Oh, interesting.
or it might have been the edibles I had. I don't know.
Okay.
but whatever it was, I didn't leave that experience being like, wow, Red Rocks. It was cool, but I felt like I want to do a do over. I want to do it and
Okay.
and really test it. So that's like something like that. I would say other venues. I mean, I've been to other arenas. I think arenas are arenas, right? I don't think that there's any that are above others. I would love to go to Madison Square Garden. I've never seen a concert there. I think that would be a lot of fun. But honestly, my favorite place to see shows is small, quaint venues where you can get shoulder to shoulder. Like I
Mhm.
saw, there's a band called Royal Blood. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're out of the UK. They're a two piece. It's a guitarist and a drummer. Think like Black Keys, White Stripes, that kind of thing. And as they were kind of breaking, we saw them in a small club, and it was sweaty, muggy. Somebody ripped the worst fart I've ever been around in a concert. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you're seeing like these guys, and they're like literally like anytime you're seeing something like you've never seen before or something is special. Like if you know it in the moment, like I feel like Gary Clark was like, I've never seen anything like this. This is blowing me away.
Mm.
That's the stuff that sticks out. That venue has since closed, but I love the smaller, quaint kind of things. Charles Bradley, a soul singer out of the East Coast, he used to come through and played this real sparsely populated venue called the Old Rock House. And I think it's a great venue, but for whatever reason, they don't get a lot of like good acts. Not say good national acts, but I love going there locally. But that's just me.
Right on. Hey, where do you think vinyl's going? Are we still on an upward trajectory as far as people getting involved? I know there's statistics that show different things, but what's your general feeling of like, are you meeting more people, more new people getting into it, or yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a kind of a combination of all the above. Like we've been hearing, like when's the bubble going to burst?
Yeah.
Like especially all the new vinyl people that kind of picked up during COVID, because you were expecting to see the bins filled with Lady Gaga records and Urban
Mhm.
Outfitters and all that, and that still hasn't necessarily happened. It happens once in a while in my area, but um, I think the real death, I wouldn't say death now, but the real balloon to pop is the price escalation. I think that that's a barrier to entry. If you think about like what I said at the beginning, you could get a collection built in $10
Yeah.
in just one pickup. I think that's why a lot of people are going back to CDs in a lot of ways in that sense, because you can build a collection, or there's some things they've never put on vinyl. A lot of local bands, like I was talking
Mhm.
about from my college days, they never had stuff on vinyl. So now I purposely am trying to find those CDs I never had
Mm.
back in the day. But I think that's going to be the thing. Like if you're paying $40 for a record,
Yeah.
what 20-year-old is really going to have budget, be able to budget to
Right.
continue to build a record collection off of 40 or more on a new record. And that's
Yeah.
not even to talk about some of the quality control issues, which I don't feel have really been properly
Speaking
addressed.
of, yesterday at Music Millennium, I got the Shuggie Otis album. It's a repress,
Okay.
from '74. I forget the title of it. It's a great album. So I get home, I'm excited. I put it on, and the first 2 tracks of both sides have a whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
Yep.
And so I gotta take it back. I mean, I was like, "Can I live with this?" And I was like, "No. No, I can't." And then I can feel there's a rough spot just on that one portion of the so I gotta take it back, you
You know,
know?
it's interesting to bring that up because I think I've talked to other collectors. Like I think that's one of the best and worst parts about YouTube is that, or even social media or the internet, is the question is, has quality control been bad like this in the 80s, 90s, whatever? I don't know. I wasn't, you
Yeah, that's a
couldn't
good
you couldn't
question.
AB in the 80s.
Yeah,
You couldn't easily go to a forum board and be like, does anyone else's side A of Van Halen 1 do this on Janie's
yeah,
Crying? Like the Walmart, that I bring that up because the Walmart, they did a Walmart box set of, it was a box, or they did Walmart releases of the first, like the David Lee Roth Van Halen records. And on Van Halen 1, on Janie's Crying, there was a manufacturing defect. There was a tick. I thought it was just my copy. I go to YouTube. I find other people.
it's the
Music
thing.
Talk with John. That's how I met John. He had the same thing. He made a video. He's
Mhm.
like, "WTF?" You know what I mean? Like, so has it always been like that? I don't know. All I
Yeah,
know is if I'm paying $40, I always say premium price, premium product, premium
it's
expectation.
gotta be.
If I'm
Yeah,
paying $40, don't be upset if I expect it to not have no fill, whooshing, skips, edge warps, whatever. Like I just want a flat record. It's not damaged. That
yeah,
now it's my responsibility to take care of where it goes from there. Not now I've got to fight the Amazons, the record stores, the whatever, because the manufacturer, and this goes for all of them. Like don't the hype of the supreme quality control. Like some do it better than others, but
mhm,
even the ones who say supreme quality control, I've had to send stuff back to them too. So it's
yeah,
and again, manufacturing, that's kind of my professional background.
okay.
Fallout of manufacturing is generally 5 to 10%. So I get it. I
It's
feel like
gonna happen, yeah.
it's going to happen. It's just the nature of the beast. But I feel that when you're charging these prices, you also have to plan on your back end, have replacements, replacement jackets, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like I know people are like, "Oh, you don't play the jacket." True, but I just paid $50 for a double LP, and when I open it up, and it's got these giant seam splits at the top because they don't make the jackets in the way, or they don't put them. You know what I mean? It's the way they
Mhm,
place the records, and they didn't pack it tight enough, so there's less movement. I mean, all these things can be solved. The people who do it the best are the shop owners. They know. Generally, they're collectors. They know how to pack a record. They know
mhm,
how to insure, and they're also the type that'll say, "Hey, do you want me to open this and ship it behind the sleeve?" Perfect. Like there are solves to all these kind of things. I just think from the manufacturing end, it's widgets, and they'll take some grief from the. I mean, look at here's a good one, Rhino, right? Like makes really good product, terrible customer service. Why? You can, who can you talk to in customer service? If you send an email into the ether of the Rhino box, do you hear from somebody?
mhm.
Sometimes, you know what I mean. So like, I would appreciate more of a prioritization of addressing some of these things. But that's not to say they're like terrible. They're not terrible, but I think like anything else, like acoustic sounds or website, not good.
Yeah, here, Mazzy says, "Quality control goes back as far as vinyl has been pressed. Believe me, we shipped back tons of records every week in the '70s. Now everyone shares it online." Yeah, we hear about it online, but I'm sure I mean, when Mazzy was young, he worked at the record store, and I'm sure that happened.
Right. So and to that point, like since now that information and accessibility of people is so like easy, maybe it does feel like it's an echo chamber of amplification.
Because
Highly
you only hear
possible.
about the bad news kind of a
Right.
thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Agreed. So it's if they had the Hoffman forums in the '80s, maybe people would be doing the same thing. You know what I mean? But
yeah. So with the premium paid for new vinyl, it seems like classic rock is, I mean, you can't get a copy of Rumors anymore for $5. It doesn't feel like. I mean, I regularly see them for $20 or more.
mhm.
And when I talk to like I was talking to Matt from Too Many Records, and he says every time he gets a copy and he sells it right away, just out the door, bam.
Yeah, my friend Matt Sands, shout out to Matt. He has a record store in Hillsborough, Illinois, a very rural store. And when they started it, he wanted to just, he wanted to collect, he collects records, but he also wanted to like do it in his community and provide a service and that sort of thing. But him and I have talked about it because he even feels bad. Like he's even said to me candidly, he's like, I feel bad. He's like, we'll get a copy of Rumors. I used to put those at $5 or $7. They're gone right away. We took the price up so they would kind of stay in a little bit longer. So when people come, at least they can see we have nice stuff. Those
Mhm.
are going. So he's like, now I'm charging 2025, but
That's so
it's
yeah,
you don't want to have people not buying it, but at the same time you want to try to keep some inventory so it makes people
yeah,
want to come back.
yeah. You get it I mean, if that's the market, if that's what people are gonna pay for
Supply
it,
and demand,
you're
yeah.
gonna charge. I have a I sell records down at an antique shop here, and just stuff like Leonard Skinner or James Gang, stuff that probably should be a 4 or $5 record, I easily get 8 or $9 for those records, Air Supply, even the '80s stuff, just if it's in good shape, it's gotta be in decent shape. But, yeah, it's interesting. So it makes me wonder then, we'll have I've looked on my analytics for the show, and most of my audience is over 45, and there's a right? Surprise, surprise. And, there's a contingent that's, over 60, and, y you know, I think for a long time, I get on Facebook Marketplace and look for records to buy and stuff like that, and it's just chock full of Ray Conniff and Henry Mancini and Herb Alpert and all that stuff from that crowd that has passed on or whatever. But now, we're gonna. I would think within the next 10 years, there's gonna. I would think, and that we're gonna get more 70s rock and more stuff that we like to as those people die and or get rid of their collections and stuff like that, and I wonder how that will affect the price of records. If that like is there just going to be Are we just going to get a whole ton of anything from like Deep Purple to all that hard awesome 70s stuff? Will that start coming on the market cheaper? I don't know if it'll be cheaper, but maybe it won't go up as fast.
Yeah, I think you're onto something there, but I also think people are living longer now. And I
Okay.
think that like it's kind of like we were talking about like the bubble is going to burst. This is also one of those theories of like people are dying off. True, but also, like there's been so much publicity about vinyl is back in the national media, especially in the last 5 to 10 years. Because my friends that have shops have told me this: is people come in with a distorted sense of value, and they'll bring a giant box of records. Here's my dad's collection, thinking they've got literally black gold.
Yeah,
They think they're gonna buy a new Buick. They think they're gonna take a check for $30,000 and walk it over to the car dealer. You know what I mean? It doesn't
yeah,
work that way. And
no,
so there's kind of a distorted sense of valuation for people who don't know. But then two, I think that there's so many people now collecting that I think between things like and avenues to sell, Discogs, eBay, Facebook Marketplace, all these different places, people are hunting all the time.
yeah,
People are on the 79th organ all the time looking for these things. And I think if and when they do come up through like people passing on, if they're not doing it in a way that, or if they don't take it straight to the record stores, there's more record stores than there were 5 to 10 years ago.
mhm,
So I think the theory is sound. I think that like people are going to be dying off, and you would think more records would hit the marketplace. I think that they're going to be more siloed, or you've got to be one of these people who are like living fervently on your device to
yeah,
find it, because I just don't think it's going to be as like I don't think records are coming back to the bins, the Goodwill bins, or any of that stuff. I really
right,
don't.
yeah,
But I do think that just as a numbers game, there's just so many more people collecting. And here's the other thing that we probably don't talk about enough is the financial piece of this. COVID created a lot more speculation that was in the hobby before, because now you have people doing this for a job, not just
mm,
record store owners, flippers, eBay connoisseurs, and it's not just records, video game people. They don't want to do the conventional work, so they're going to go out and source however they can, and then they have an online store presence. And I think that has also been a small escalator of these prices going up, especially secondhand stuff. Like to me, you asked it earlier, like what do I think is like the hobby's future? Like scarcity is going to take place, and that's why I think a lot of people are like, pardon my French, F it, I'm going to go back to CDs.
Yeah,
There's people going back to CDs just on that point of, I don't want to pay $25 for rumors. This is ridiculous. I'm going to go and buy the CD for $3 at wherever. So I think it's push pull economics. I get it, but at the same time, like the escalating prices are going to push certain people out of the hobby. They're going to make people just give up. And then the people who give up, they're going to take their stuff to certain places. That stuff's not going to come to the open market. It's going to go to
yeah.
record stores or other collectors they already know, because there's such a wider net of people looking for records now.
And the people who are getting ready, who aren't collectors and are getting rid of the records, if they have a Beatles album, they think it's worth $100 or whatever. They don't understand that they made jillions of them. I got a I got a call from a lady in a retirement facility here in a neighboring town because she knew that I bought records and like records. And she was from, I think she's from South Carolina. She had the sweetest accent, just a really nice old lady. And she had these records that she wanted to sell. There's probably 75 of them or whatever. And she had them all listed and she wanted to tell me all about them. And it's all just the Goodwill,
All stars, yeah,
Percy Faith
yeah.
all
Charlie
that,
Pride, yeah.
yeah, that kind of stuff. But she had gone on eBay and looked at what, and she's like, and this Charlie Pride album, you could get this, you could sell this for $45, and I'm just like, and having a good conversation with her, and it's all right, but she wanted to go through the whole list, and it's just like, she's not looking at what sold or how it sold or whatever. She's just, but she said, I'll give you a good deal for these too, so like I can get the Charlie Pride album for $15 from her, or whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
So there for every 20 of those people, you got to be on the Johnny on the spot to get the like last week I showed a bunch of records I got from my neighbor here that he posted on Facebook Marketplace, and I got about more than $1,000 worth of retail for like $75. And that's one of those things that's just like, you
Once in
have
a
to be at
while.
the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
We have a really small Goodwill in Silverton here, and I'll go in several times, 2 or 3 times a week, just to look. And a couple weeks ago, somebody had put in a whole bunch of reggae. Now I know the person who owned that reggae is not the one who brought it into Goodwill. That it's probably from a storage unit, or somebody who doesn't know anything about those records
Sure.
brought those in there. And I don't know a whole lot about Goodwill or about reggae, but I went through those records and I bought like over 20 of them because I know I can resell them. And they're all, the cheapest one was like over $20
Mm-hmm.
retail. So occasionally I'll get something like where somebody will bring something into a thrift shop that they don't know anything about, so you can find something. But I really have to go through, so I have to flip through thousands of records to find, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, if I was getting paid by the hour, it wouldn't be anything. But when you do find, Van Halen's first album for $3 at a thrift shop, and it's in great shape, that makes your day.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, it makes it worth it. It makes it worth digging through it all.
Yeah, hustle's a muscle, and that's why I don't know if he's watching this, but Rob the Wax, he gets a lot of grief for a lot of reasons, but that guy works. Like, he
He
hustles,
does.
he hits the pavement, he goes to the estate sales, people bust his chops. But I respect that. Like, if you put in the work and you get the spoils, you won't get 1 ounce of flack from me, because if I have the time or the availability or the opportunity, I would love to do the same. But that's exactly what you said. Like,
Yeah.
I just went to a Savers. What day was that? Friday? Was it yesterday? I had a tip in our local record community, one of these Facebook groups I'm in. They're like, "Oh, Savers, blah blah blah, just got a big collection of independent records." I don't know what that meant. Let's go by. And it was a lot of records. And to your point, I spent 20 minutes going touching them all. I like to say touch
Mhm.
them all. And I pulled 3 records. Nothing like that really blew me away. There was one CTI Kenny Burrell. I'm not really jazz focused right now, but I knew Rudy Van Gelder did a lot of that CTI stuff. I like Kenny Burrell. Covers peeling a little bit because, it was one of those laminate covers, but
Mhm.
for $1.99, why
You
not?
gotta take a flyer on that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I took it home, cleaned it, sounds like a champ. Now I'm at the point where, do I keep it or do I move it on? And if I move it on, if I sell at my local show or if I even put it online, I always try to cut a decent deal because I want to sell the stuff. Like, if you go to
Yeah.
my Discogs right now, I've got a lot of sealed records that during COVID and a little bit after, I was like, oh man, I'm going to really pull a great profit. I'm going to buy one to keep for me and one to sleep, that I'll wait for it to mature and I'll sell
Mm.
it at peak return value. Didn't happen. Like, I'm done buying new records just to speculate on them, because unless it's something like, again, not to beat up on Rhino, but when Rhino first started doing that high fidelity series, they were numbered, and then like the ones sold out, the Cars one sold out right away, and then the resale value went from $40 MSRP to over 100 easy. And I'm like, oh, okay. Then you buy the next one, and that title didn't move as fast. So it's just kind of like
Yeah,
it's a gamble, but anyway, I mean,
it
it's
is. Rich says the problem with charity shops here in the UK is that they now have vinyl experts going through donations who know the values. Yeah,
sure.
I found that too when I was in Belfast in April. I didn't find hardly anything, and they got tons of little charity shops all over the place. I mean, I found some 74s, but they were just commons, uh, nothing really of value, as Dave say here. You guys have a point. Early '90s, where people were dumping off more records at thrift stores than maybe they do now. But I can find some interesting records at the secondhand stores. Yeah, there's always good stuff to find. You just have to. It's not. You just can't go in and find all the classic rock that you used to be able to find.
No, and that's the thing. I think people, if they take anything from our conversation, like, the hobby changes, record collecting
Mm.
evolves. Some would say it devolves, just like the vinyl community evolves and devolves. Things change. Like, that's the one constant in life, is change. The way we collect records has changed. We're doing a lot more of it online. The availability of records has changed. The pricing has changed. You just gotta like ride the wave. And for me, keep it fun. Like, I saw Matthew Petty talking about Wax enjoys the hunt. I enjoy the hunt too. I think that's part
Yeah,
of it. Like you said earlier, Marty, like putting in the work of flipping through all those records and pulling a $3 Van Halen, it makes it feel all worth it.
yeah,
Sometimes you don't pull the $3 Van Halen.
nope,
You can't like think of that as time wasted. It's time invested on the next time
yeah,
you're going to find something really cool. Because there's been times I found stuff I didn't even know anything about, but at least I knew enough to pull it, do a
yeah.
little research. Like, I have a local that didn't really know hip hop records for a while, and I found like he had it for $10, and I knew, I was like, this is more than $10. This is like a recent. It's like Young Thug, something I don't really know a lot about, but something I knew was more than $10. Take it back, do my little kind of ninja research. Is a 300 piece.
Yeah.
Wow, great. Or perfect example, 90s records. A lot of 90s country was pressed on vinyl only in like by Columbia House, right? So
Mm,
like some early George Strait, Billy Ray Cyrus, Some Gave All, that record. Those are records that I would find in some of my locals $10 or $15, and whoever had priced it didn't know or
no.
didn't care. You know what I mean? Because some stores, there's some stores specialize in certain genres or certain things, and take a little bit of a blind eye to
Hmm.
some other kind of genres. And so I've, for lack of a better word, sniped. I've had some good sniping adventures, finding things like that. But it's the hunt, right? It's like you
Yeah.
don't know unless you go.
Do you now? You sell on Discogs?
Yeah, I don't do it as like during COVID. Like, this is no lie. I think I made, IRS knows this. Flipping Taylor Swift records, believe it or not, almost $9,000 during COVID,
Wow.
because one of my locals had a distributor that just kept funneling them. And so I would go and buy these things, and then I would I would buy it for 20 and sell it for 30 to 40, lather, rinse, repeat. So I did a lot more volume then, because, and again, COVID, there wasn't concerts to go to, there wasn't a lot
Hmm.
of travel, so people are at home on the devices, on YouTube,
Yeah,
all
with
that
money to
stuff.
spend.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with discretionary income to spend, so
yeah,
that was a nice time. And what did I do with that $9,000? Right back into my collection. Then I'm buying the
yeah,
$150 records or whatever, and
yeah.
it's a self fulfilling prophecy.
I do find when I've only sold maybe 5 or 6 albums on Discogs and some on eBay, but the money that I get as I do better down at the antique shop, my my tolerance for higher priced records for my collection definitely goes up.
It's
You know?
part of it. It's
Yeah,
like I said before. It's like there was a point where I'm like, $200 Nirvana, no way.
yeah.
Year year and a half later, yes way, and then
But
it's become a little bit more.
it's like, um, I don't see the price of that though going down. So in a sense, I mean, we shouldn't call records investments,
Sure,
but it's almost a hedge against inflation, at least, like as if you're getting ounces of silver. I mean,
sure.
that Nirvana record is not gonna go down in
No,
price.
and the reason I didn't finish this part of it. So I bought
Yeah.
it for 600. literally within a year, it was already 1,200. And I
Yeah.
didn't buy it to speculate, but I bought it. And again, full credit to Mike Esposito. He did the shootout. He kind of confirmed something I thought I believed in. I was like, the OG has to be the best sounding. Sure as shit, it was.
Yeah.
But I also knew that while $600 isn't cheap, I also knew that that was a fairly good market price for something that if I didn't like it, my friend Brandon, Mr. Hall of Fame, says this all the time. If you don't like it, you can get off. It's money on the shelf. And it's true. Sometimes it's more money than you paid. Sometimes it's a little less than you paid.
Hmm.
But you can always generally get off of these things. And I would never say I buy a record to speculate on it. Sometimes if it's something, here's a good example. I found a Camper von Beethoven. If Mazzy is still here, maybe he'll pull out the 3 hairs on his head. I found a Camper von Beethoven record. It's not really my thing. I said, I'll try it again. I found it for $8 at one of my locals, a $50 piece. I went for a run one morning. I'm going to listen to this album and I'll make the decision. By the end of the album, I'm like, this isn't for me. Right on Discogs, right? I didn't buy it intently to speculate and flip it,
Hmm.
but I was like, I'll try it. And if it's great, I just got a nice score. And if it's not for me, I'll move it on out the door.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had albums where I wouldn't spend a whole, but if I've bought a $20 album before thinking I might like it, and then been able to, if I can sell it for $20 at the shop down here, and
Just to get
or
off of you.
25,
Yep.
yeah, I know I'm not going to really lose money, and I get the chance to find it, see if I maybe love it or not, see if I like it.
Well, how many blind buys have we all done? You see
Yeah.
a really cool
Yeah.
album cover, you know nothing
Oh
about it,
yeah.
but the cover is cool as shit, and you're
Yeah.
like, you get it home and the music is straight shit, and you're like, oh man,
Yeah.
this is a bad idea.
Yeah, I got a couple that they were just dollar records yesterday, but a couple when I cleaned for a couple hours last night records, and as I'm cleaning, I'm listening to these albums it was a buck, so I take a flyer on it, and I'll sell it for $4 or $5 down at the store. But occasionally you get one that's really fun and you listen to. So, uh, Ed, my Snoop Dogg R. Kelly collection is virtually worthless.
Now, hang on, Snoop hasn't been canceled. R. Kelly. Now I will say this:
Yeah.
a couple years ago, so there's a Lady Gaga album. I think it's called Art Pop, where she has a song. It's a duet with R. Kelly. I think it's called "Do What You Want." I like the album, so I bought it secondhand for I want to say $18 at what's called Vintage Stock, V Stock. So like a local, it's like a Midwest chain of
Hmm.
video games, records, whatever. $18. Then R. Kelly, unfortunately, and this is kind of the nature of pop culture. R. Kelly has his struggles, and then the Lady Gaga reissues the record, taking that version off because she doesn't want to be associated with R.
Hmm.
Kelly anymore. And now that's like a $200 or $300 record. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I didn't buy it because obviously R. Kelly hadn't gone through his
Yeah.
deal there, but then there's also, I've talked about this before, the death tax. When somebody dies,
Brian Wilson records.
right, go to
Yeah.
Discogs, and I'm not saying like do this as a speculator, but I've done it before. Somebody I didn't really know died. It made me curious to go try their music.
Hmm.
I picked up something like when DMX died. Here's a good one. DMX passed away. I like DMX, but I
Hmm.
hadn't been moved to get DMX on vinyl. I had maybe one DMX record at that point. When he passed away, I went right to Discogs and I bought a couple more. And within 36 hours, those had already tripled in what I paid. You know what I mean? There's the death tax right after someone passes away that people then are like motivated, like call to action. Like I was called to, yeah, okay, I've been putting off getting DMX. I'm going to bring some in. And if I don't like it, guess what? I can move off of it.
Right on. Uh, let's see. What is Russell? So Russell says, was surprised to find that my MoFi Elvis Costello Get Happy medium price is over $100. Right on. Do you like MoFi? Do you get into the many audiophile stuff?
So it's funny you asked that. I just sold a lot of MoFi records to my friend Billy Hurst in his shop. Not because I'm like, I hate MoFi, but the way I'm collecting is different now than it was like during COVID when all that was called the fear FOMO was taking over. Like
Hmm.
MoFi would release Hall and Oates and it would sell out within a day. I was one of those jabronis buying that because I'm like, oh man, Hall and Oates, MoFi. And then years later, I'm like, do I really need a mobile fidelity recording of Hall and Oates? Probably not. Especially if I can get an OG,
Yeah.
because that's one thing for me that I kind of, I wouldn't say lost my way, but one of the things I really liked about starting into the hobby was the preserving something someone else discarded. Somebody,
Yeah. Isn't that cool? Yeah.
You know
I
what I
like
mean?
that.
Like giving it a second life. And I really value that, not because I'm some kind of like sustainability warrior or anything, but I think continuing the story of an artifact or a piece of music or a piece of a film or what have you, a book, like I enjoy that. That's why I like collecting certain things, because I like keeping it from getting slabbed, or you know what I mean? Like I derive more value from finding things that someone else was like, yeah, I don't need this anymore. And
Yeah.
with MoFi, like nothing against them, it's just not my thing anymore. I did buy the Stone Temple Pilots Tiny Music that just came out. A little underwhelming for me, but I bought it, eyes wide open, and
Mhm.
maybe one day I'll move off of it. Not tomorrow, but 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 by and large, yeah. I mean, and if people like MoFi, if people like acoustic sounds, knock yourself out. I'll never like take a giant steamer on them, but
Yeah.
that's just not what I collect. Like I like collecting the old and the
Yeah,
story.
I do too. I mean, if I came across a cheap mobile fidelity or an audiophile record, they're just exponentially more expensive than a regular copy, and I don't know if my system's good enough to really. I mean, I'm sure it sounds great, but is it really gonna? Am I gonna? Do I need to justify that extra money just
Yeah,
to have
am I going to be the Maxell commercial where I sit down in my chair and this mobile fidelity makes the four hairs I
Yeah,
have left on my head,
yeah,
push back? Probably not.
yeah. Rich, have I haven't hauled any oats, but I do haul wheat on occasion. But speaking of hauling oats, I'm still looking for the 74, their 74 release, the Hall& Oates.
Is that the
Um,
silver cover when they have makeup? Or is it the one that
I don't
it's
know off the
like it's
top
a
of my head.
bus? Like I'm terrible. This is where people,
Yeah,
my fans, my big fans, will beat me up on it because I don't. When I'm talking like this, I don't know the detail. Sorry, I didn't. I wasn't alive in 1974.
yeah,
I don't know the detail.
yeah,
I'm also not the world's biggest Hall and Oates fan. I just know enough. Again, recall. I've seen the covers. I
yeah,
know a little bit about to at
yeah.
least have the conversation on that level. But you know,
Do you ever watch? Have you ever watched at Daryl's house or live at Daryl's house?
yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah, yeah. Daryl Hall. Yeah,
love
yeah,
that.
yeah. Those are
The one
fun.
with Joe Walsh is one of
Oh,
my favorites videos. It's
yes,
really
no.
fun. Um, Rich, you're not a jazz guy, are you, Chance, or are you a jazz guy?
So you're talking about the different paths we take. I put off trying jazz for a long time, but I knew it's like Thanos. I knew it was inevitable. And so a couple
Yeah,
years ago, I started going down that well. I did find some artists I really enjoy. Like I like Lee Morgan a lot. I like Kenny Burrell. I was talking about him earlier. He's a guitar player. So there's certain artists I liked. I did buy the Acoustic Sounds, did that 50 piece reissue. I did buy all those because I was like, this is a good way to get great titles at a great price. And by and large, Acoustic Sounds makes good stuff. But years removed, I'm not really actively looking for it
yeah.
anymore because I think I had my fill. And not that I'm like mad about it. I didn't really sell a
No,
lot of these
yeah.
records. I got what I wanted, and I'm good.
Do you collect sports memorabilia? Are you a sports guy? I mean, you work for Nike and stuff.
Yeah, not as much as I used to.
Do you have
So
teams that you
before
follow? I mean, are you a
Yeah,
Cardinals
Cardinals.
guy or
Cardinals are the home team. Yeah, I'm a firm believer. You have a home team and you have a
yeah,
boyhood
yeah,
team.
yeah.
So hometown team Cardinals, like ride or die. But then when I was coming up, the Cardinals weren't very good. The Anheuser Busch owned them at the time. They were getting ready to sell the team, so they weren't really
Mhm.
investing in the team, and it showed on the field. But the Dodgers were coming up, and it was right after I remember watching '88 World Series Gibson Eckersley live because I was a big baseball
Classic,
guy, and I watched it
classics.
live, blew my mind, right?
Yeah,
And so the Dodgers were kind of my boyhood team. So those are, like I've worn Dodger stuff down to Busch Stadium. Like whenever they come
really?
through once a
Okay.
year, yeah. Like my dad would always take me once a year. We'd try to aim to go to a Dodgers cards game when they came in town, and yeah. So yeah, I would say Dodgers and Cardinals from an MLB perspective. We don't obviously have NBA. I love NBA, but we don't have an NBA team here. So I just kind of follow the players more than the teams. Like you're talking about Dame earlier. I thought that's awesome. Like I'm
Yeah, I'm so
but but
excited.
but also it's not so bad economically because he's still getting his Milwaukee contract. Like I think he's
Yeah,
going to make $70 million next year.
70 million next year.
It's crazy. So more power to him.
For not playing, he's not gonna play.
Yeah, he's going to rehab back
Yeah,
home where his family already was back in Portland,
yeah,
and he's getting paid 14. I think it's 14 by Portland, and then 14
yeah.
next year. So he's basically making 28 million for 1 year of playing, and then he has a player option for another year if he
Yeah,
wants.
and he's him and LeBron are the only ones in the NBA without a no trade clause.
Well, he was, and Bradley Beal had one up until he
Oh,
just
that's
got
right.
bought out. But that was
Okay,
part of the reason Bradley Beal
okay.
was such an albatross. Is like nobody could trade for him because the Bulls tried trading for him last year, and Phoenix was like, please, and he's like, I don't want to go to Chicago. He's a St. Louis guy. Bradley Beal went to Chaminade, so I don't
Okay,
get it.
right on. My wife's a huge Dodger fan.
See, great
And,
taste, great
yeah,
taste in record
yeah,
collectors, and great
yeah,
taste in sports teams.
right on. Well, okay, we're coming on an hour and 20. I've got like these 5 questions
Hit me.
that I want to ask you just real quick, kind of off the top of your head, and then
Sure.
we'll wrap it up. So, off the top of your head, what's a really aside from sports, what was a really special album to you that might not be, that might be off the radar for other people, or
Oh,
just an album that just you can listen to it over and over again, or you just know every note of the music.
I'm probably gonna take some flack for this. I did pull a couple records just in case, um, and I just saw these guys Thursday, as a matter of fact. So one of the albums that was really important to me coming up was Throwing Copper
Oh
Live,
man, dude.
and yeah, and all the haters. I have both OGs, the Coke bottle and the original Black, but um, yeah, and I just saw him. Now I know it's just Ed at this point, and I know the whole backstory. It's a
Yeah.
fascinating story if you read the Rolling Stone piece, or
Okay.
they made YouTube videos about it. But it's Ed, and I followed when they had their little kind of split not too long ago for a few years. Like I went and saw Ed's solo stuff, met him, nice guy. But yeah, that record. That talk about like my mom killing the Melissa Etheridge cassette. This CD all the time. Like this was I didn't even have a CD player in my car when I first got my first car.
Yeah.
I had a CD, a Discman, and then I connected computer speakers to it. So I
Yeah.
would put the computer speakers on my floorboards, and I would play the Discman. And this was one of
Is that
those CDs.
95? What year was that?
94, I believe.
94.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
I
94.
That takes
Yep.
me right back to summer league softball, where just spinning that CD in my pickup on the way to the ballpark and back over and over and over again. What a great album.
It's it's
And just
it's it's just terrific, and I know some people think live's kind of corny, and that's fine. But I mean, literally, if there's not it's one of those no skips to me.
yeah,
There's not a even the songs that are a little bit lighter in the quality, let's say, than
yeah.
but there's just such heavies. All Over You, I Alone, Lightning Crashes, TBD, Shit Town. Even I think is White Discussion on this one. I mean, it's just
Great cover art too. I always just
oh
I
yeah, this
stare at
this
that
painting is
cover. Yeah,
amazing. Yeah, love it. So
so good.
that would be
Oh,
one.
that's fantastic.
The other one I would say, just along those lines, talking about Journey, and people are gonna laugh. Weird Al. When I
Oh,
first start,
sure.
when I first started getting into music, when I was a kid, like Weird Al was fantastic. Fart noises,
Uh-huh.
funny lines, and the most important things I think that Al Yankovic did was by doing his parodies of songs, it made people want to know, especially people who didn't know, like kids or whatever. Okay, I know he's parodying this song "Like a Surgeon." What was the source inspiration? Madonna,
Mhm.
like a virgin, or
Yeah,
whatever. So it's just like collecting records. Like you find a thread of what is this, and you start pulling on it, and you learn more, and it's a great exchange. And so, like we would as kids, we loved all the Al stuff, and I mean, a really nice guy. It sounds like from everything I've read.
yeah, he's a sweetheart, I think. I had the album in, like, '88 or '89 where he's doing the Nevermind cover, and it's him in the pool.
Oh, sure, sure, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it's got I Lost on Jeopardy, and, Fat is maybe on that.
Well,
I'm not sure.
Fat was on. Fat was
Oh,
his
that's on
Fat was on even worse. So that's
that's
like
right.
that's like
Yeah,
'89. The
yeah,
Nirvana one, yeah, that might have had the Yoda song. I'd have to look, but
okay.
yeah. I mean, every album was just like
Yeah.
fun, light, and he was a good musician. I know he's got the
Great
source
band. Yeah,
material, but even the
yeah,
originals like "Dare to Be Stupid," which is a
yeah,
Devo inspired song, it's a really good song. It's
yeah.
great.
No, they are. The production was really good. That's cool. A Weird Al fan. I dig that for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
Alright, what's a meal that you never get tired of that you could have every night?
This is for my haters. Concert Booby enjoys a good sandwich. I would say a meal I never get tired of. Uh, so one of my local sandwich shops, Blue City Deli. Shout out to Vinny. He has a sandwich. Generally, actually, it's going to be on the menu tomorrow. It had taken an absence. It's called the Tony Supremo, like
Mm.
Tony Soprano.
Mhm.
To the point where I had to on Facebook say Vinny is the Tony Supremo and Sandwich Witness Protection Program. It's been off the menu for a while. It's a split,
Okay.
and it's hot roast beef. It's root beer glazed ham. It's
Mhm.
like this Creole mayo on seeded French lettuce. It's
Are you
chef's.
a mayo guy?
Not as much as I used to be.
Okay.
On occasion. Yeah, I know that's not as good for you as when I was like running every day, and
Yeah. Oh, I love mayo. I can't
I,
get
I
enough.
would I would just I would eat a lot of mayo, but now
Yeah.
I pick and choose.
What kind of bread do you prefer on a sandwich? Do you like sourdough, rye, potato bread, or just standard?
Potatoes are good. Potatoes are going sourdough if it's good sourdough. Not all sourdoughs are created equal. My
Mhm.
wife makes her own sourdough. She does a
Oh,
really nice
nice.
job with it. Trying to think. Yeah, I do like a good seeded bread. Like if you get a seeded
Oh,
French,
sure. Do you
like I
guys
was
have
talking
Dave's
about.
Killer Bread out there?
Yeah, Dave's. Yeah, that's not
Okay.
bad. A little
Yeah.
pricey, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
it is pricey. Yeah. Right on. Alright, what does our country need right now? Doesn't have to be anything heavy, but it can be heavy if you want. What do we need right now?
Our country and the world in general is kindness. Lead with kindness. That's why it's something like not to toot your horn, but that's one thing I like about you is that you lead with empathy and kindness to hear people of different opinions. I think we've lost our way to, and I think a cheap plug. I'll be on the Jason Rojas show tomorrow night, and I'm going to say these same things. I think we've lost the ability to disagree with
Yeah.
kindness, disagree with respect, because it's okay if you and I don't see eye to eye on something. That doesn't. I don't think any less of you as a person, as a
Mhm.
man, or anything else. Yeah, obviously there are certain things that you want to, like somebody is hurting someone or like cutting them down. There are certain lines you draw, right? I mean, everyone has their value system, but we've lost the ability to disagree and then go have a beer afterwards. You know what I mean? Like we've
Yeah.
become these kind of like tribal. Everyone's
Siloed
got
into our
you
bubble.
siloed. Everyone's got a team. You've either got to be this or it's an either or kind of thing. And I think that's not to get off on a tangent. I think that's part of the rise of social media that it's kind of encouraged this kind of tribalism. It's unfortunate. I mean, I have family members that politically are way different than me, and that's
Mhm.
fine. It's okay because the only day that matters is the ballot day, election day.
Yeah.
Other
Yeah.
than that, they're my family 364 days of the year, and they're my family that day too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just not going to
Mhm.
get, and sometimes too, when you disagree with someone and someone can articulate their position, sometimes it makes you think twice about your position.
Yeah.
Sometimes it makes you think maybe their position makes more sense than my
Yeah.
position. So we've kind of lost that because people just double down on this is what I think or this is what I was told. People don't really check their sources of information. Like it's like the old journalist thing: you need two sources to validate something.
Right.
Like anyway, so I'd say
No,
kindness. People
I'm
should lead with kindness, and people
yeah.
should. It's okay to disagree and not have to hate somebody.
What do you want, people who think differently to you to understand?
Um, that I'm not defined by like the issues. Like if people feel that way, they're entitled to that. But if somebody believes something steadfastly different than I do, I'm not going to necessarily like cancel them or write them
Mhm.
out. I just, it just means we just don't have that in common. Like a lot of times people build friendships based on common interests, accessibilities. Like your earliest friends are people you went to school with. Why? Because you all lived in the same area. It's not that you chose that, but then as you get older, you start choosing people for different reasons. Either you guys play softball together, you guys are record collectors, whatever. And especially as we get older, it does get harder to make new friends. And that's one of
Yeah.
the beauties of the vinyl community is that, I hate to say it, like Mazzy has always been sweet to me and a nice guy.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have walked by Mazzy on the street and be like, yeah, I'm gonna be friends with
Yeah.
Mazzy because
I'm
because
really
we're just so
thankful for
differently.
that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. What this has given me, this community, the friendships, even though it's just largely online and occasionally
Sure,
in person we get to see people, but that's been a real blessing. Okay,
absolutely.
last question. Where do you wanna visit? Where do you wanna go for a vacation or spend some time if you could? There's probably lots of
Um,
places, but what's one that's taken up?
Yeah, I mean, if Chauncey's still here, I can't wait to meet Chauncey in LA. Like I was
Right
saying, I'm
on.
getting back to LA after a while. I'm excited. Um, I'm kind of a travel snob in that I don't really travel abroad too much.
Mhm.
It's been mainly for work or what have you. I'd like to get to Canada maybe at some point. I'm not. And I would like to be more outdoorsy than I am. Like if I
Mhm,
travel, like I said earlier, my wife will attest to this. Like part of the planning parameters are like, okay, are there record stores nearby?
mhm.
Because I do want to explore, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. But I also know like we kind of have a trade. Like I'm going to LA by myself here coming up the end of the week, highly focused on records and doing
Mhm.
my thing. But next year we're probably going to go back out to LA and we'll probably go up into the state a little bit, go to Joshua Tree, stuff that aligns more with things she'd like to do.
Right on, right
And
on.
Den Bosch, yeah, I know. Saw people were
I see
talking.
that. Rich says, "Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah."
yeah. Rich said that, and I saw something. I think OJ sees
Okay.
Greg was saying it earlier. I'd like to make it out to Denver because I feel like I've been to Austin several times to that record show. Chicago's a good record show, the Chicagoland show. WFMU last year in New York, I went to. I think I'm gonna try to go again this year. So I feel like I've been to the big U.S. record
Mhm,
shows. Den Bosch sounds like similar, if not on
mhm.
steroids. So I'd like to do that maybe once before I hang up my VEECEE hat
Yeah,
and
right on.
move on.
Well, Chance, thank you so much for spending
Thank
an
you,
hour and
Marty.
a half with me. It's been really fun and getting to
Same,
know you, and
same.
I'm sure we'll run into each other down the road and
No doubt
online
about
and
it.
all over the place. And I hope you have a great week, and may your record collecting fortunes uh, abound.
Hey,
So
I always like to steal this line. Bob Bradley, the General, the Colonel. Good vinyl luck. Good vinyl luck.
there you go. There you go. All right, man. You take care, and we'll see you. Thanks, everybody.